Hello, everyone. This is a late one, so I'm kind of excited. I'm also low key tired, but it's okay. It's okay because we're gonna do this. We're gonna get it done. So, today we have Scremmy, who is this amazing artist. He is in Maryland right now, so he's Eastern time. But super excited to interview him. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, and he's a super cool creator, so it's gonna be really exciting. Again, y'all already know I have a train that likes to come and interrupt my interview. So if he does, you know what I'm saying, just excuse him or her. If it's a female, I want to fight her. But if not, then it's okay. We're just gonna let it be what it is. So I'm just gonna wait for everyone to kind of join, and then we'll get started. Also, I don't know what's going on with my hair right now, but I got a cool jean jacket. So that's all that matters. That's all that matters right now. You know what I'm saying? That's all we need. I love you. Don't play with me, y'all, for real. Hello.
Hey.
Hey. I was just telling
Sorry.
everyone about my crazy hair, so you came
You
in
look
just in
alright.
time. I look like I should be in a Grease video. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's cool though.
I do.
It
Like,
works.
let me get a leather jacket. Don't play with me. All right, y'all. So is it Scrimmy or Scrimmy? Because I don't want to say it wrong and I will.
Scremmy. Both sounded
Scrimmy.
good though. You sound
Okay,
yeah,
dang,
that
I
was
was
fun.
wrong with both of them though. It's not okay. All right. So you just got a bachelor's of fine arts from the Pennsylvania School of Art and Design in
A while ago.
2001.
Yeah, I got that a
Yes.
while ago. Yeah,
Yes, 2001.
yeah.
And then got your master's from the Fine Arts of Savannah College Art and Design in
Right.
2019. So not too long
Yes.
ago.
Right. That was
Um,
yeah. That was just a little while ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so your work has been displayed on the Gathering Colors website, featured in Art Maze magazine, the Studio Visit magazine, and Create magazine. So you've had your art in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
But now, being the father of four incredible young children, have being a husband to a lovely wife, welcome to the Vibe Out Zone.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are glad to have you. All right. So before we get started with the interview, I'm going to ask you a series of just a little bit of like questions. They're lighthearted, super easy. You probably asked them before to someone like when you're trying to get to know them when you're on a little date. So super easy, but you have 5 seconds to give me an answer. If you don't answer in 5 seconds, we'll just kind of move to the next one.
All right, fire away.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite artwork not done by you.
Stairway at Auvert
Okay.
by Vincent Van Gogh.
Okay. Favorite season.
Spring.
Okay. What's your favorite memory that you can recall?
I was like 3 years old. I was at a birthday party. Somebody dumped a whole bag of like cheese curls onto my plate, and we're like, "You want to finish these?" And just dumped
Damn.
a pile of them on my plate. And it's the earliest memory. Such a good memory.
Okay.
Not
Can't
my
go wrong
favorite
with cheese
memory of my
grills.
whole life, but that's the first thing that came in my head. So,
Okay. All right. Favorite subject.
favorite subject?
Yes.
Art.
Okay. Favorite animal.
Tiger.
Okay. Favorite color.
Red.
Favorite song at the moment.
Heat Wave by Martha Reeve and the Vandellas.
Okay. Favorite article of clothing.
Um, this shirt.
Okay. Okay. Favorite artwork of your own.
Of my own? Um, It was a mural that I did in Ballackinwood, Pennsylvania, on the front of a building, and
Okay.
it's gone now. But that was my favorite piece of artwork that I did.
Well, that's sad. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I did it knowing it was going to be temporary, so it was
Well, then that's cool.
totally
At
fine.
least you
Yeah,
got to see it.
yeah.
Uh,
No, no, I got good photos and stuff, so
yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Favorite emotion.
love.
Okay. And last but not least, favorite painting and drawing utensil that you like to use as of right now.
Oh man, my Iwata Eclipse airbrush is my favorite tool right now.
Okay.
And
Okay.
what was the other part? What was the other part?
Favorite painting?
um, I don't know.
That's fair.
I
That's
don't know.
fair. It's cool. All right. So how are you feeling? How are you?
I feel good. I feel really good. Life is busy. It's
Okay.
always busy with four
Yeah.
children. It's really busy. I also do body work on cars, so that's my career,
That's
kind of
really
in a way,
cool.
um, along with this. So finding time for everything is difficult. It's always challenging, but
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
yeah. But it's
Okay.
all busy. But I feel good. I
Okay,
feel good.
good. As
Yeah.
long as you're feeling good. Busy's good as long as you feel good.
Yeah.
So, was there any particular event or time that you recognized that this wasn't just a hobby, that you wanted to make this your living and your career, which you'll do, every day?
Yeah. I was in high school. I had a really good art teacher in high school, and he kind of found a way to help me channel my um, lack of direction, I guess.
Okay.
So I had a lot of energy, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't very a good student. So, um, but art was something that I liked, and he was the first person who taught me how to really paint. And so he would like make me stretch my own canvases, and he would sit me out in the hallway. He would pick like the two talkative kids in the class, and he would stick them out there with me, and and he would say like paint these two kids, and he would just give me a little bit to go on, and I would just make a painting, and
Okay.
it's where I fell in love with painting. um and it was a great entry to it because he didn't, when he would critique my work, he did it in a way that pushed me to be more free and more expressive. And I totally support like classical training in the arts and stuff, but that was a great way to start. Like it was
Okay.
good to start with somebody who didn't push me hard on those things, on technical things.
Yeah.
Like, he showed me some basic stuff, but he didn't really critique me on that stuff. He critiqued me on like, well, no, I think you're being too reserved, and you should be more expressive and be more free
Okay.
with the brush. And he kind of taught me a way to tap into my emotion through that, and that connected me with painting in a way that I don't think I would have connected with it if he had been like, okay, you need to make this person look like this person. Here's how color works, and taught me color theory and did all of those formal elements of art. If I had done that first, I might not have fallen in love with it the way that I did. So I'm really grateful for him. His name was
Okay.
Charles
Yes.
Ackery. He's a great guy. Yeah.
Look, teachers do a lot more than they understand, or I think
No, they really do. Yeah, they
comprehend.
really
Like
do.
they really be out here changing lives.
Yeah,
Um.
so that's when I knew. I thought like art's gonna be with me for my life.
Okay. Well,
That's for
shout
sure.
out to your art
Yeah,
teacher.
yeah,
Shout out to him.
yeah. He was great.
Um.
He was really
Would
great.
you say that Would you say that getting started is more difficult, or continuing a project that you've already started?
Um, that's a great question. So it varies and it flip-flops. Sometimes it's super hard to get started, and sometimes you hit a wall when you're in the middle of something, and like you feel like you messed something up, and it can just stop you cold.
Mm-hmm.
And so both can be really challenging. And it's interesting because once you're involved in a body of work for a long period of time, you you really build your momentum. And so like the last thing that you did really inspires the next thing you're going to do, and it doesn't control it per se, but it pushes you into, okay, when I was working on that last piece, it turned out okay, it turned out decent. um, but I had some questions that I need to resolve in my next piece, and so I go into that next piece wanting to answer some of those questions or try some things that I thought about during that last piece. um, and it builds, and I found that it when that starts building, it's much easier to push through those hard moments.
Yeah.
So it really, like, having that momentum is great. Those hard moments still come, but it's it's significantly easier to climb over those hurdles. In fact, in some ways they don't, they kind of they present themselves to you more as questions rather than just like, why can't I do this? Why can't I figure, like, why do I just feel stuck? Instead
Mm-hmm.
of that, you're looking to your own work to try to resolve things, and you're thinking of it more as like, okay, this is it's more like, I'm trying to think of like a good analogy for it. It's more like a math problem. Like,
Okay, I love
in,
math.
you know, instead of
I
instead of
do.
just being this confusing abstract thing, you have these elements and these variables that you know you're considering, and you know, you just kind of reassemble those pieces, and once you do, you come up with some answers. And I love that process. Like, I love it. I love when my work builds off of the work that came before it, and I love running into those moments where I feel totally stuck, and it's like, man, um, I'll just take my time, and I'll just let this simmer for a while. And
Yeah.
when I do like that, I've come to really enjoy that and appreciate that part of it. And a big thing for me in doing that is I'll go to a different form of creativity or expression in those times. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally stuck on a painting, I'll work on some writing. And when I do that, I'll find that I'll come back to that painting just totally fresh, ready to
Okay.
answer those questions. And for me, that's been like that's been a more recent development in my career, but it's absolutely helped me.
Beneficial and helped
Yeah,
you.
really.
Okay, good. That's good. So what would you say then is an important lesson that you've learned that impacted the way that you create your artwork? Would you say that is that lesson? Or would you say that you've learned a different lesson in a way too?
I mean, I've learned a lot. That's probably that's one of the most important ones. For me, that cycle of getting stuck, um, or feeling like I can't get something going, like, so having trouble starting a piece or getting stuck while I'm working on a piece, that's been very connected for me in my life. It's been connected to my struggle with depression. So that's something I've wrestled with since high school, where I've been
Mm-hmm.
conscious of it. Um, and that has felt like a cycle in my life. Like, it's felt like it's something that comes and goes in this weird cycle where I'll have these really high highs, and I'll have these really low lows. And
Yeah.
I found that there's a similarity, there's a correlation with my artwork. I'll go through these periods where I'm really productive, and I'm having a lot of what I consider to be success with the work, and then I'll go through some stretches where it's really difficult pushing through. And that cycle in that creative process for me, coming to understand that more, it's really helped me deal with depression in my personal, like, in my thoughts and my emotions, where I'll feel stuck. And it's taught me, like, you can go to other things. You know, you don't have to like get stuck on this one particular thing that you're concerned about or depressed about or anxious about or worried about. You can focus your attention on something else. And it's given me kind of tools to resolve those moments. And it's just that correlation with my art. It's helped stuff like that. So that's, to me, that's one of the most important lessons I've learned through art.
Okay.
Um, yeah, really. I mean, it's definitely top three for sure.
That's good. I liked how you kind of touched base on the depression part because I feel like a lot of people do, especially people that are creators, but a lot of people in general go through those phases, and I think they don't realize how common it is and
Yeah,
might,
yeah,
be at a really low,
yeah,
and
yeah,
not understanding like, right now it sucks, but it's like you've been here before. You've pulled yourself out of this before, so create
yeah,
somewhere else. You know what
yeah,
I mean? So I like that you
yeah,
touched base on that, but also express how you yourself go about it and have learned other ways of a safe haven or a muse for yourself. Mine is
yeah,
just
yeah.
being in
And
that
it's,
work.
yeah, yeah. And for artists, I do think that I think those cycles tend to sync up. Like, if you're an artist, and creativity is a big part of your life, when you're stuck with that, it can feel very similar to depression. And I kind of wonder if it might be a form of depression. And when you come to understand something like that as an artist, you realize, like, you have tools to deal with it. You know, like, you can, it's not necessarily going to feel better, but you understand, like, there are things I can do right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this process isn't over, life isn't over. There are other things I can do. There are other ways I can approach art. I have all these tools at my disposal, and so that really tends to kind of bust through that fog.
Yeah.
And so for artists, I think that there's, it just tends to be locked together. All the people I've talked to about it, most of them have a similar experience,
Yeah.
and
I can definitely relate to it too.
it's not like a circle. It's a weird shape, but it's a cycle nonetheless.
Hmm.
And like they find themselves down low, they find themselves at really high highs, and they're having success with their art at the same time. And to me, I just see that happen so much with artists. It's like, man, um, anything, I'm glad you asked this question, because it's really something that I want to discuss with artists and figure out with artists together,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of us experience it. So,
I would
but
definitely say that people experience that at least once. If it's not something that you notice as a
yeah,
cycle, you at least
yeah,
have it reoccur once.
yeah,
So you're just
for
kind of
sure.
like, okay, I've been
Yeah,
here before, but we're here again.
yeah,
So, you
yeah,
know, so I definitely can relate to that. Definitely. Um, so you've had several exhibit and shows. So
yeah.
what aspects of these exhibits and like what do you like to show the most? Is it the people watching and observing and trying to analyze your work, or would you say that it's getting to know new people and networking?
Um, I probably like meeting new people the best, but I'm also saying that just coming off of 3 solid years of like getting my work critiqued every day. So,
Yeah.
that gets old after a little while, where it's so intense, like
Mm-hmm.
that can get really old. Um, I loved it and I benefited from it, but so much of it can be a little overwhelming. So I find that like meeting new people and being in new situations where you're networking with people that you haven't met before, that to me, it's always so different. Each experience is so different. I enjoy it probably more because of that, because
Okay.
it's like you never know what's going to happen. I kind of like that, um, the unknown. I like the unknown a little bit, um, but there's there's a lot to be gained from both. Um,
Okay.
I don't think that my art would be where it's at if it hadn't been for viewers that bring substantive, deep critique to it. So that stuff's really important. And there's some friends that I've had that are artists as well. One friend in particular, he's a graphic designer. I consider him a fine artist because his work really is on that level, um, where when he's working in his field in graphic design, in my opinion, the guy is making fine art. Like his
Mm-hmm.
his work is beautiful. But he's been someone who's given me regular, consistent critique throughout my career, and he at so many different points he's said things to me that have just uh, met me at the right moment and given me like a jump forward with my work, and or given me an idea that like I was kind of like flirting with it, but I wasn't quite getting there, and then he said something that clarified it. So he's coming from a career himself of experience working in the arts and the formal elements of art, and so that side of things, it's really important. They're both really important to me, but I probably enjoy
Like the
meeting,
networking part,
yeah,
meeting new
meeting new
people.
people, putting my work in front of people who haven't seen it before,
Okay.
seeing how they respond to it. I really like it. So
Okay. I like market. I think networking and marketing is important, especially, to make relationships, but to be able to have that community
hmm
is nice as well.
oh
So
yeah, for sure, yeah,
definitely agree with you on that. So you are in Maryland right now with your wife and 4 kids.
yeah, yeah.
How does living in Maryland and the Upper East Coast influence how you make your art and the way that you go about the process of it?
In some pretty significant ways, actually. So like my daily commute is on the Capitol Beltway, and it's some of the worst traffic in the country. And
Yeah.
so I'm constantly stuck in traffic jams, and it because of the pandemic, it hasn't been that way for a little while, which has been a weird change.
Hmm.
But typically, I would drive to work, a 25-mile drive, and it could be easily an hour, um, just sitting, crawling in traffic. And so when I was when I was in my graduate studies, I was reading a book by a guy named James Elkins, and the book was called How to See.
Okay.
And this guy was he had these like little chapters about like how to look at different things in our world. And one of those things was he was like how to look at blacktop. It was a weird chapter of a weird book, but an enlightening book. It was a great book. I'm in love with this book. But um, when I read that, he was talking about what creates like all the different kinds of cracks in blacktop and why it shapes the way it shapes over time. And he was
Hmm.
like giving all the chemical background on it and stuff. It was like a real weird chapter of a book, but it made me look. It made me look around where I was stuck every day more. And one of the things that came to me while I was doing that was the idea for my thesis, which was to take work that was influenced by the language of road signs already that I was doing and actually turn it into public art. And it, being stuck there, it was like, man, I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but I know for myself, if there were more artwork along the way, like if there were more graffiti, if there were more murals, if there was more public art in general in my commute, I'd be a lot happier. Like I would be,
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I would love to be driving and crawling down 495 and looking at a whole variety of public art if I could. That would be
Yeah.
amazing to me.
Yeah, that would be
So,
really dope.
right,
Better
and
than
wouldn't
looking
it
at each
like
other's cars.
exactly, and
Looking
or
at each other.
and or staring at your phone, which is dangerous in its own way while you're driving. So there's a sense in which art can lift you up and out of what you're normally doing, and it can cause you to look around and notice your world more. And so that provoked me to do that. And so yeah, living in Maryland has it's absolutely had an influence on, and near DC, it's had an influence on the direction of my work in a big way because there's road signs everywhere. Where our little world here is totally littered with them. Most of them are ugly, or they're temporary roadwork signs, or they're knocked over and laying on the ground. And it
Too.
just made me think, like, if our local governments can litter our roadways with signs and stuff like this, like why can't I put up artwork along the way? Like, is it really that bad of a thing to do? Absolutely not.
No, absolutely
So,
not.
so I feel like even though there's legality issues with it, it's something that I'm continuing to pursue because of that.
That's
So,
that's a beautiful thought. That is a beautiful thing. I
thanks.
admire that because I would
Thank you.
rather see, artwork if I'm stuck in traffic for an hour than the next car next to me,
Right.
another car next to me, or something that says yield, and I'm just like, how can I yield? I'm in traffic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah,
can,
I
I
do.
can definitely understand
I do. Yeah.
that.
I
I
hate
would.
driving now too. I mean, I hate it. So
Oh, I
so
hate driving. I
it
hate
like took
driving because people in Texas don't know how to drive. And I
see,
might
everybody
live
feels
here. I might live here, but I'm not from here. So
oh,
the fact that I've gotten in car accidents only when I moved to Texas,
yeah.
it set the standard,
Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
People can't drive here. But
Yeah.
I've also lived in like several different places and people just can't drive in general. So
It's just you. You're the
yeah,
only one who can drive, and everyone feels that way. So
thank you. I'm glad that you honestly recognize what I have. I appreciate that.
I do. You're the best.
Because thank you. See, my boyfriend would probably disagree with you. He probably would. He would probably be like, she can't drive.
I can hear him now. I can hear him now.
I'm telling you, he's childish. Don't mind him because he can't drive either because he's from Texas. I'm sorry, he's from Arkansas because he about to watch. He'll probably say that he from
Okay.
Arkansas, not from Texas.
All
He'll
right.
pop up. There he goes. Look,
Nice.
what? You know what it is. Sean's funny though. But that's neither here or there. I don't want to talk about my
All right.
driving because then people will probably come in here really coming for me, and it's not okay. Um, do you? So with your artwork, do you ever paint in the presence of your children, or uh
Yeah.
do you think it's distracting or difficult when you do? Can it become distracting or get difficult like with them around? Is it hard for you to focus? Because I know that you spoke on how you're, you know, high school teacher had you go in the hallway with those two kids that were talking. So do
Right,
you think
right,
that
right.
that kind of helped you be able to better focus with outside noise?
Um, yeah, for sure. No doubt it did. I mean, and like when I was doing my undergrad in the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design, we had our studio setup was it was like probably eight. It's probably eight students, and we each had like a cubicle for a studio,
Okay.
but it wasn't completely walled off. So like my studio, I had a guy directly next to me all day, and like we were just there next to each other all day. Like we could see each other all day, we could talk to each other all day. And people were constantly walking in and out of each other's studios. So in that was a formative time for painting for me. So I mean, even in that, like people were talk with each other. You're listening to other people's music a lot. Um, often music that you don't want to be listening to at the time, but you learn to live with it, and it absolutely made it easier for me to deal with distractions when I'm working. I think in some ways, like I kind of need like if I'm home by myself, like on a rare occasion when I'm home by myself and I'm doing work, I turn on the TV and I turn on music, um, and I'll oftentimes have a book laying out just to like when I'm in between strokes, I'll just sit down and like flip through a book and read different sections. Oftentimes it's a book that I know, um, and so I kind of in some ways now I kind of need that background noise. With the
Mhm.
children it's a little bit different because they have their own needs and they look to me to fulfill those needs. So
Yeah.
for for them, they'll come and I love when they're in here and I paint with them in here often. And probably most of the time they're in here with me. But then there's actual where they'll like ask me to go leave the room and do something for them. And that's hard, that like that's when it gets hard because I'll be in the middle of like setting up something that I'm trying to make right, and they'll come and be
Yeah.
like, I want some like whatever make me mac and cheese, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, do
No,
you see I'm doing this? But so that can be hard, yeah. But overall, no. I mean, I'm used to that. I'm used to them being around. I like having them around. Their energy is pretty awesome to have around when you're making art. So
that's
it's
good.
great. Yeah, and
That's
they'll like paint in here with me. I'll set up watercolors for them, and they'll do their thing, and they'll finish the painting in 10 minutes, and they'll bring it over, and they'll be like, "Daddy, hang this on your wall," So I love that. I love it. Absolutely love it.
good, good.
Yeah,
So for your wife, how did you meet her? Does she do art as well? How did y'all, meet each other?
she doesn't do visual art per se, but she's an artistic person for sure. She has a real great eye for like interior design, um, and she has like her own clothing shop. She sells children's clothing,
Oh,
and
okay.
she like curates outfits and stuff as a part of her store, and so she's got a great eye for color and for for style,
Oh,
for
that is
sure.
super. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
cool.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, she's great. She's a great mama too.
So then what
She's
was she
awesome.
doing when y'all met? How did y'all meet then?
Oh man, that's a long story. That's a long story. We met through a group of friends. Um, we were both attending the same church at the time,
Okay.
and we had a similar group of friends. And she came over. Me and some buddies were drinking beer, and she came over and she made us nachos,
Ooh.
and it kind of won me over. I was,
And you can't
so
go wrong with nachos. I love me
no,
some nachos with
me too.
jalapenos. Boy,
Yeah, yeah,
love me some
she did it
nachos.
up right, and it was after that I kind of wanted to get to know her.
She
So and
had
then
you at
over time,
nachos,
like I said,
man.
she
She had
did
you at nachos. That's you. Okay, listen.
she
Any
did,
love story that involves food is
right.
a good love story.
Yeah,
'Cause you can't go wrong with
yeah.
food.
Our first real date was at an Italian restaurant. It's a local restaurant to our area, there's a couple of them in our area, but they have some really good dishes. And so like our first, it even wasn't even really a formal date, but it ended up being a date, and it was over food. It was over really good food.
Okay,
So
good.
yeah, you're on to something.
Okay,
Sure.
so then how did you go about proposing to her? Like, were you nervous? Did you have it
Yeah.
like, did you plan it for like a long time?
I did. I planned it. You know what? I planned it too hard. I was like way too nervous. Um, we even had like a little spat on the day that we got engaged because I was just so like I was wound so tight.
Dang.
But we got engaged in Cape May, New Jersey, um,
Okay.
on the beach, sunset. It was a beautiful night. And overall, it was a fun day. And like the second half of the day was really fun.
Okay,
Um,
good.
the first half, I was just so wrecked with nerves that it was hard. But
But you knew she was gonna say yes, so
I hoped she did. Yeah, I
you
mean,
know. I felt like guys know that the female is probably gonna say yes.
yeah, we absolutely do assume.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's a good assumption too. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
we freak out, because we have to wait. It's like we have to wait for the question. And you guys just know it. Then you guys get nervous to ask it. Like, just ask it. Just ask it. Um,
All right. Okay. Well, I mean,
so
it's not happening again, but I appreciate the advice now.
no, it's okay.
Like,
I'm saying it for anybody else in the chat room that may need any help.
all right.
Just a little hints. So what makes artwork for you? Are there certain qualities that make a piece better for you? Would you say you pay attention to the textures, and there's certain color combinations?
Yeah, all of the above. All of the what is
She knows that.
that?
She said shots in here like,
Oh, was that? Oh, okay. Wait, was that last segment?
yeah. I mean, no,
Okay.
we were absolutely
No,
talking
no,
about
no.
you. I was just helping anyone
You
else in
sure?
the
Are you
chat
sure
room.
we were talking about
Yes,
you? Are you sure?
if anybody was in the chat room that may
I
is
don't know
going through the
now.
same situation, maybe they are nervous about an
Hey,
then I
right.
was just letting them
So
know.
there could be another gentleman in this chat room
Maybe I'm not
to
sure
whom
who.
that advice was relevant. And let me tell you, man, it's worth it. Do it. All right, Sean, do it. What are you waiting for?
I like this interview.
What are
This
you waiting
is
for, Sean? Do it.
exactly what is Sean waiting for. This is the Stand with Ray interview. I love it. But yes, so the color combinations or texture. What would you say
Yeah.
makes the artwork?
Um, if I had to pick, I would say that I'm much more of a colorist than anything. So colors, it's absolutely vital in my work, and it's probably the first thing I think about. So when I'm seeing a piece of work that it's coming together in my mind, I'm normally picturing colors first. That's the first thing I think about. So that is for me probably the most important thing that comes together. I'll have a palette come together in my head, and that could be for a number of reasons. It could be because I saw something, you know, that made me think of this color working together with this color.
Okay.
Like I said before, a lot of times it's a work that I was doing previously. In fact, that's most of the time. It's the last piece that I did. That's typically pushing me into the next piece that I'm gonna do. And it may not appear related at all. Visually, it might look like a totally different piece. Color-wise, it might be totally different. But there was something in that last piece that I thought, like, okay, and that one little hint that it gave me, that's gonna become a feature in the next one. It's gonna become a much more central part of the next piece. But
Okay.
yeah, color for sure. Texture is important. With some of the more recent stuff I've been doing, I've created some frames that the the frame is a part of the artwork, so it's a part of the painting itself. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the actual piece of the wall that I painted it on, and I'm cutting that out,
Okay.
and I'm installing that inside of like a shadow box type frame that I built.
Oh, that's tight.
And then I'm hanging the painting inside of that. So the painting's like suspended in there. It's just hanging.
That's really
Um,
cool.
to create like a sense of like this is what came out of all of that chaos. So it the that's why I decided to hang the paintings like that, and that stuff's all on my Instagram. You can see those pieces are on my Instagram too.
That is super
Um,
tight.
yeah, but so in that respect, texture, space, it's important. And with the public artwork, the paintings that I'm installing out in public, um, absolutely, because it is a work in three-dimensional space. All of that stuff counts as well for that. And for those, um, I'm looking to find like contrast. So this sign that I'm putting up somewhere, if I'm walking around a city and I'm looking for a spot for it, I'm looking for contrast to that. So if the painting is mainly blue, I'm looking for a wall that's going to make that jump out. So like a normal, just a untouched concrete wall will make that really pop because that's
Yeah.
sort of it's sort of a gray yellow color, um, and blue will pop off of that surface. And then there's some where it's like I'll see like a wall, it's like ivy covered, it's all green, or I know there's going to be a green background behind a piece, and that might be a piece where I'm looking to place that's more a work that's going to contrast with that. So it's got more reds, it's got more warm colors in it. So I'm thinking of installing those pieces in that way. I'm thinking
Okay.
more about the space that's around it. So all those things apply for sure. Yeah,
Okay. All right, that is super cool. And then what is your Instagram in case anyone is on here that does want to see your artwork that you were just talking about, the recent ones that you've been working on?
it is at Scremmy, and that's it. At Scremmy,
That is a
Scremmy, and that's also my website is scremmy.com. So
okay. Okay,
you
so
can see
super
some stuff up
easy.
there. Yeah.
All right, cool, cool. So what artists have been inspiring or inspirational to you and for what reason?
Um, Man, lots of them, lots and lots and lots. Um, when I was younger, Vincent Van Gogh was an artist who was inspiring to me for I think for obvious reasons. I mean, the guy's an incredible painter.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, but the color that he worked in, to me, it was constantly vibrant. It was constantly bright. But instead of it being overwhelming or feeling like it's like smacking you in the face every time you look at it, there's something really um, there's something really soft about his work. It hits you in a soft way,
Okay.
and and it's because he was able to create so much harmony from the color that he was doing, and that was a combination of a number of things that he did. But I mean, like I mentioned that you in the quick questions, I mentioned a painting called Stairway at Aubers, and that painting is probably my favorite painting of all time because it um, there's so much atmosphere to it. But it's like this Van Gogh's work is kind of also weird and cartoony. It's a little bit,
Hmm.
it's like it's not what you expect from a guy who painted in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah.
It's not what you expect, and there's a ton of atmosphere to it. It feels like you're in this place, you're in this little world that this guy created. You're really in there, and so that I mean, he's a huge influence on my work. It's probably why I consider myself more of a colorist than anything, because that's the first thing I noticed about art when I kind of became conscious of art. That was the first thing I noticed,
Okay.
was the color. Um, but there are some artists uh, throughout my career that have also influenced me. A guy named Robert Irwin is a Los Angeles-based artist. I think he's in his 90s now.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, but he's I think he's still making some work too. He's crazy. Um, but he started off as an abstract expressionist painter, and he throughout his career he left his studio, um, started doing installation work, and he's done everything from like creating art that's based in landscaping to
Hmm.
totally conceptual installations that are just it's just like you're just looking at light that's changing throughout the day. So his work has been incredibly sparse and minimalistic, and it's been totally expressionistic as well throughout his career. And the way that he approaches art has been very formative for me. So
Okay.
he's all about teaching people how to see. And I think that as a motive for an artist, that's just such an important, it's such an important motive to have. And so I feel like a lot of the direction that I've gone in has been influenced by him, in that I want to help people that are exposed to my work see their world a little bit better. So
Okay.
Robert Irwin is a big one. Look him up. His work's phenomenal.
Definitely will.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a big
So
one.
you have some good ones. So is there any qualities in the society today that you dislike? Like where are those, is there something that you try to avoid or rebel against in your work? Um or maybe have
Um,
a message that you attempt to portray through your work? Or do you leave those statements on your blog?
I do, because my work is what it is. It's non-representational imagery,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not a symbol of something really. I mean, I love when people take it and turn it into a symbol. To me, that's the magic of falling in love with a piece of artwork, is you take it and it becomes a symbol to you of something.
Yeah.
So, you can look at a Van Gogh painting and fall in love with it, and over your life it becomes a symbol to you of different things, different emotions that you associate with it. And
Yeah.
abstract art, to me, it feels especially open to that. So um, that that probably is the most appealing thing to me about it right now. Is that you you don't have you no one's preaching a message to you with abstract art.
Mm-hmm.
And we're living in a world that's saturated in messages being preached to people right now. And it's not that I don't like that. It's not that there's not a place for that. It's not that I don't have a message that, or several messages that I want to communicate to people. I absolutely do, and I think most people do. But I also think as human beings we need a break from that. Like, we can't live in that all the time.
Yeah.
And when we do, we get really hostile, we get really worked up. Things that are important but not central to our lives start to become central in our lives. And I feel like we lose our way when that
Yeah.
happens. And art, to me, it really serves a noble purpose when it pulls people away from that and gives them a break. And it's like, abstract art to me, non-representational art to me, it is so beautiful because of that. Like, that it can do that for people. It can give you a rest from having constant messages pushed on you, political messages pushed on you,
Yeah.
religious messages pushed on you, whatever it is. Um, Art can take you away from that. It can give you that break that you need, and it's incredible because it's something that could just be hanging on your wall in your house. So it's hanging on your house, and you have a little moment of vacation on your wall in your house that you can go and look at, and you can detach yourself from those things, decompress. And I just feel like abstract art, it lends itself to that. No one's there telling you what to make of this. You're bringing your baggage to it, and you're reading into it, but at the same time, like, it's not forcing anything on you. And I love that about it. So that's why my work is non-representational right now, and has been for a while. Um, and yeah, I do separate those two, but they're connected in some ways, because a lot of the art world is communicating messages to people. So I do still feel compelled to comment on that, and
Okay.
and critique artwork and present other artists who are doing things different to me. I want to platform other artists who are doing things different than me as well. Um, but and I have things to say too. So I do try to separate it, but um, not totally. I'm not. I don't care if other artists do.
Yeah.
Like, I do think, like, it can, like, I don't like political art this year. you know like, I don't like it now. I don't like it in the environment we're in. I feel like it's too much,
Yeah.
but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that. So, what roles have galleries, shows, and art shows played in your life so far? Um, and then, if you don't mind explaining which one was your favorite so far.
um Man, Let me think. They've played a moderately important role, not too important, but um, art shows are unpredictable things. Sometimes you have a great turnout, sometimes you have a terrible turnout. Um, Sometimes you have like only a couple people show up, but they're fully engaged with your work and they're giving you like the best feedback you've ever gotten. And I've had some shows like that where it's only a couple people show up, it's super depressing, but all of a sudden they start giving you really, really good feedback.
Yeah.
And it opens doors to other things, or you make a good connection with one of those few people who happen to come, and all of a sudden you're on to a new path. So I've had a varied experience with it. Um, I've had some great ones where lots of people have come, and that's just like all good feelings, like it just makes you feel good. People are showing up, supporting your work. It's really uplifting, and it gives you a momentum as well of its own. But it is a pretty it is a pretty varied experience. I wouldn't say it's huge because I made a decision at one point to make artwork, just whether anyone liked it or not. So
Hmm.
I kind of made that call. It was like, I'm gonna do this whether people like it and vibe with it or not, because for me it was so important to do it. Like
Yeah.
I felt less human when I wasn't making art. And I had a long stretch of my life where I wasn't. I fell away from it a little bit after my undergrad, 2001. I just didn't have a lot of direction coming out of that
Hmm.
that college experience, and I was pretty jaded, I guess, about art in general and discouraged in general. And when I reconnected with it, I was like, wow, I was going crazy. I was starting to
Yeah.
lose my mind, because I wasn't doing this thing that is such an important part of me. Um, and I'm so grateful. It's been a part of my life ever since, you know. But
Okay.
so shows, yeah, they help, but I mean, it's cool. They're great experiences, but I committed to doing this whether I exhibit work or not. So,
And that's a beautiful
you
thing.
know,
That's what makes it beautiful. So,
thank you.
stating that, what would be one important piece of advice that you would share with just any artist that's starting out?
Um, I would say find a way to not be too hard on yourself,
Okay.
um, but also to embrace critique. Um, Embrace people not liking your work. Um, don't be like, don't let it shatter your world if someone doesn't like what you're doing, even if that person's an important person in your life. Don't let that shatter your world. Don't let it like break you down. Um, but also, and I mean this, like, don't be too hard on yourself in that. Think of critique, think of people not liking what you do in a constructive way. Like, take it and try to use it as a building block instead. And that really, there's an art to that. There's an art to that where you can let something really bring you down because you wanted to impress somebody so much with what you did, or you can acknowledge that their vision is as limited as yours. They're only seeing a little bit of what you did. Even though they're looking at the whole piece of art you did, they don't see the process, they don't see the blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak.
Hmm.
All that stuff is there. It's all in that piece of work. And you have to hold on to that. And when they break down what you did, there's going to be a little bit of truth in what they're saying, and try to find that and use that as a building block. And if you can get good at doing that, you're going to be fine.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. No,
nobody can
that's
say anything. Nobody can say anything that's going to stop you or slow you down. It's only going to speed you up. It's only going to give you more fuel for your fire. It's going to make your work better. Um, you know, it's going to make your work more refined. It's going to make it more technically astute. It's going to make everything about what you're doing better. And it just requires you doing the work of finding those things in what people said, even if they vibed on it in a bad way. It's like, I've had people take a big fat shit on my work, and it's people that I to some degree cared about their opinion.
Yeah.
And like it's hard, you know, it hits
Yeah.
you in
Like,
a real
damn.
emotional way, and you're
Oh
like,
my
man, like
God,
you're angry, you know, like
damn. Yeah.
like you're upset at them. Why couldn't you have said that differently? Like you want to fight. um, but there's still even a little bit of truth in that, and you got to be able to accept that and use it instead of letting it hurt you. Use it.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you become kind of in a weird, you become like a defensive fighter in a way, like in a real, you take someone's bad energy and you flip it. And that's, that's an art in and of itself, but it's important for artists to get. So that's the way I would say it is, don't be too hard on yourself, but you know, use everything, make sure you're doing it for the love, but use that stuff to get better. Don't be afraid of that. You
Yeah.
know, it's like,
Definitely. So what is one thing that you would say would make the art world better? And then, if so, what would it be? And also, if you have anything around your studio right now that you would be willing to kind of show us any artwork that you are working on,
yeah, yeah,
showing that as well.
yeah,
But only if you're comfortable, of course.
absolutely, of course, yeah. What would make the art world better? That was the question.
Yes.
Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Um, man, I think more tolerance right now. Um, it's become, the art world's become a weirdly intolerant place. And I don't know if that's going to surprise some people, but I alluded to this a little bit earlier. The way that art has crossed paths with politics in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and since 2016, it's become a very intolerant place. Um, One of the things I love about being an artist in America is that we have a level of freedom that is untold. Like artists in America are really free to do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it, why ever they want to do it. Like we are utterly, absolutely free. We don't even have a body critique right now. Like we
Yeah.
don't have it's not like romanticism, you know what I mean? Or expressionism.
Yeah.
We're not governed by anything like that. Everybody's free to do what they want to do. I can stop doing this stuff right now, and I could just go back to making figurative work however I wanted, and nobody could tell me otherwise. And I could find an audience for it. Like
Yeah.
I could. I mean, I have to work. I'd have to put in work, but I could find it. It's out there. No one's saying like, this will never be successful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't have that. We have utter
Yeah.
freedom, and I love that. I cherish it. I absolutely cherish it. I think the one thing that could destroy that or hurt that is intolerance. So like people saying like if you're coming from one perspective, we're going to um, we're going to shun you or ostracize you. And because there is an art community in different locations in our country, there's really more structured art communities. So in Maryland, there's not a big structured art community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as you get into DC, there's more of one. But like New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, bigger cities that have more robust art communities, um, there tends to be more groupthink. There tends to be more people who think alike.
Yeah.
And in those situations, when intolerance takes root because you disagree with somebody about something, it can really hurt that sense of freedom. And you know, as an artist, artists are sensitive people. You know, like we
Yeah,
vibe on
no.
that stuff. So it can hurt us when somebody's saying you can't express yourself in a certain way. That can really hurt an artist. It can really stop them cold. And that's the one thing I would say would make the art world better is less intolerance. If we were more tolerant and more accepting. And I know that's kind of weird to say that because the arts seem like they're so out there, but right now it's not avant-garde. It's
Yeah.
really not. You know, it's not leading the way in the way that it has in sometimes in the past. Like culturally speaking, I don't think visual art's leading the way in America right now. I think it's kind of taking its cues from politics and vibes in politics, and I think that's a harmful thing. So I think artists should be cued into culture, cued into those kinds of things, politics and stuff like that, but leading the way in thinking about it. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of leading the way and thinking about it, we're just taking our cues from people who are telling us to think a certain way. And it's like, well, if we do that, and intolerance becomes a kind of a fixture in our communities, we're in trouble. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, we're in huge trouble because that's going to just snuff creativity. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like it'll kill it fast. I think it is in some ways, but um, you know, propaganda starts to take root and stuff like that, which that's an art form in and of itself. But when that becomes a prevailing art form in a culture, you know, to me, that's a bad sign. So that's my opinion on it. But so more tolerance. Yeah, very much so. Thank you. Yeah, it's vital. So you mentioned seeing some work. You still want to? Do we have time? Okay. All right. I got these little things I've been doing. All right. People can hear you now. I'm just gonna start doing this while you it's low. No, you do your thing. I'm just gonna start showing artwork. All right. Do your thing. Got these little cards. Thank you. Velvari, is that right? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. These are fun. I was talking with my bro. Oh, thank you. Hold on, I'll hold that one up. Which one? One of these two? Which one? This one? Yo, Ray, we could do this all again. I don't care. We could do it all again. I got time. Um, I was talking with my bro, and that's what inspired these. Would you have your mic off?
Man.
All right, hold on. I got a stack. I got a whole stack, people. All right. You okay, Ray?
Can y'all hear me?
I can.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
y'all can hear me now? Can y'all hear me? Hello? Can y'all hear me? Hello? Can y'all hear me? Hello? Oh my gosh. I'm so sad. Can y'all hear me for real?
My mom could hear you.
Okay, but y'all can hear me, right?
I can hear you. My
Okay.
mom could hear you.
Your mom could hear you. Okay, listen, y'all.
Yeah.
We are running out of time. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulty. I apologize. We will have to redo this. Okay, so we have 34 seconds, y'all. We have to wrap it up.
34 seconds. I'm just gonna put up art for the
Okay,
last 34 seconds. All right,
good.
here we go.
Okay. Whew, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to fight it for real. Instagram gonna have to see me.
No, my mom can hear you. She just said yes, I can.
I love your art. I'm so sad.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
I'm
you.
still